Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly bend the conversation to their will? Why their words flow like a river, and somehow you find yourself agreeing, nodding, even obeying, without realizing it? This isn't luck. It's not just charisma. It's psychology. And no one understood the art of controlling conversations better than Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance thinker feared, hated, and admired for his ruthless wisdom. Today, we're diving into 10 psychological tricks to control any conversation, Machiavelli's guide. But let me warn you, these aren't just harmless tips for small talk. These are strategies designed to disarm, manipulate, and dominate, tools that can shape decisions, control outcomes, and bend human behavior itself. The question is, will you use them to protect yourself or to control others? 1. The power of silence, forcing others to reveal themselves. Machiavelli wrote that he who knows how to keep silent will always control the one who cannot stop speaking. Think about it. In every conversation, silence creates tension. Most people hate that tension, so they rush to fill it with words, revealing more than they intended. A Machiavellian thinker doesn't fear silence. He wields it. By pausing deliberately, by holding back, he forces the other person to over-explain, to expose their thoughts, their weaknesses, their desires. In politics, silence was Machiavelli's hidden dagger. In everyday life, it works the same way. Try it once, say less than expected, and watch as others hand you the power by giving away everything. 2. The echo technique, making people trust you instantly. Psychologists discovered something fascinating. We trust people who mirror us. Machiavelli would have loved this. When someone leans forward or leans slightly forward, when they choose certain words, echo them back. If they say, "I'm worried about the risk," you reply, "Yes, the risk is important." This subtle mirroring bypasses suspicion. It makes the other person feels that this person understands me. But here's the Machiavellian twist. You're not just reflecting them. You're guiding them. Once they feel safe in the mirror you provide, you can nudge the reflection toward the direction you want, your ideas, your agenda. It feels natural, almost invisible. And that's why it works so devastatingly well. 3. The strategic compliment, weaponized flattery. Machiavelli said that men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that the deceiver will always find someone ready to be deceived. And what deceives us better than a well-placed compliment? Not empty flattery. People smell that from miles away. No, the Machiavellian trick is to compliment something they secretly pride themselves on but rarely hear recognized. For example, don't say, "You're smart." Everyone says that. Instead, say, "I admire how you stay calm when others panic." That's not just flattery, it's psychological capture. It taps into their self-image, their hidden vanity. Now, every time they talk to you, they'll unconsciously want to live up to the image you've given them. You've created a psychological leash, one they'll pull tighter themselves. 4. The controlled confession, gain power by appearing weak. Machiavelli taught that sometimes, to dominate, you must first disarm. And one of the most unexpected ways to disarm someone in conversation is through a controlled confession. Share a small weakness, a harmless flaw, a story that makes you seem vulnerable. Why? Because the human brain is wired to trust vulnerability. Psychologists call it the pratfall effect. When people admit to minor flaws, they actually appear more likable, more genuine. But here's the Machiavellian twist. You control what you reveal. The confession is never random. It's chosen. You admit to a weakness that costs you nothing but buys you everything. Trust, sympathy, and the illusion that you have nothing to hide. And once you appear safe, people will lower their guard, letting you steer the conversation wherever you wish. 5. The rule of framing, dictating the terms before the game begins. In every conversation, the battle is rarely about content. It's about framing. Whoever defines the frame defines the outcome. Imagine two colleagues debating. One says, "This project will succeed if we avoid risk." The other reframes it, "This project will only succeed if we take bold risks." Do you see? The second person just dictated the battleground. Now the conversation isn't about whether to take risks, it's about how much risk. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that princes, rulers, and even ordinary men were trapped inside the frames set for them. If you define the story, you define the choices. In practice, this means begin every serious conversation by setting the terms. The moment you establish the perspective, the other person fights on your terrain. And on your terrain, you are always stronger. 6. The question funnel, leading without seeming to lead. Great manipulators rarely give direct orders. Instead, they ask questions that guide the target step by step toward the answer they already want. Think of Socrates, but with Machiavelli's cunning. Instead of saying, "Do this," you ask, "What do you think will happen if we try it this way?" Or, "Wouldn't it be safer if we?" The brilliance lies in psychology. When someone says an idea out loud, even if you planted it, they begin to believe it's theirs. And people fight hardest for ideas they think they created themselves. Machiavelli knew this. Power is never in commanding, but in controlling the invisible strings of suggestion. When you master the funnel of questions, you can turn any conversation into a guided maze, and the other person will thank you for walking it. 7. The art of strategic pauses, controlling rhythm and tension. Conversation isn't just about words, it's about timing. Machiavelli knew that rhythm creates power. When you pause right before delivering a key phrase, you force attention. When you slow your voice, people lean in. When you withhold your answer for just a beat too long, tension builds. Psychologists call this processing fluency. Whatever feels dramatic and unusual lodges deeper in the brain. By mastering silence, hesitation, and sudden bursts of speech, you dictate the emotional tempo of the entire conversation. It's like being the conductor of an orchestra. Everyone else is playing, but you control the rhythm of the music. 8. The yes ladder, leading people to agree without resistance. Here's a Machiavellian gem still used by salespeople, interrogators, and politicians. Start with questions the other person will definitely say yes to. Simple, harmless agreements. It's been a long day, hasn't it? You prefer working with people you trust, right? Each yes is a small psychological commitment. And once someone starts nodding, they rarely stop. By the time you ask the real question, the one that matters, they're already in a pattern of agreement. Machiavelli would call this planting the seeds of obedience before demanding the harvest. It feels natural to the victim, but make no mistake, you've just walked them up the ladder of compliance. 9. The divide and conquer method, splitting loyalties in real time. This one is Machiavelli at his purest. He believed no ruler should ever allow unity among his enemies. The same principle works in conversation. When you're in a group discussion, create subtle divisions. Highlight differences. Align yourself with one side by saying, "I see your point, and I think you're onto something others may not see." Now, you've sown a seed of alliance with one and doubt with the others. In debates, you can weaken your opponent by praising part of their argument, then using that same praise to isolate them. Suddenly, they're less confident, their supporters less loyal, and the conversation becomes fractured under your control. It's not about winning outright. It's about destabilizing until you're the only stable presence left. 10. The exit advantage. Always leave them wanting more. Machiavelli warned against overexposure. Too much of a prince, he said, and the people grow tired of him. The same rule applies to conversation. The strongest way to end is not to linger, not to drain the energy, but to exit while your presence still holds power. End with a sharp statement, a mysterious pause, or a promise of something more next time. Psychology backs this up. The peak end rule shows people remember conversations not as a whole, but by their peak moment and their ending. If you control those, you control their memory of the entire exchange. So always leave strategically before the power fades. That way, they'll replay your words long after you've left, and they'll seek you out again, desperate for the unfinished symphony you began. And there you have it, 10 Machiavellian psychological tricks to control any conversation. From silence to mirrors, from confessions to frames, from questions to exits. Each tool can bend dialogue, sway decisions, and shape relationships. But here's the paradox Machiavelli himself would appreciate. Power is not in knowing these tricks, it's in choosing when not to use them. For if you wield them recklessly, people will sense the manipulation and turn against you. The true Machiavellian doesn't manipulate for fun. He manipulates with purpose, precision, and restraint. So the question is not, do these tricks work? Because they do. The question is, will you use them, or will you protect yourself against those who already are?